Hi, regarding early years learning framework, what I wanted to say is that the way to read this framework here that you find on your module 4 is exactly the same as I explained it in the video on the use of the Australian curriculum. So please do read, do listen to that part too. To all the parts of all the videos today, because you'll find a lot of information that it's actually relevant to early years learning framework. Same, pretty much framework, the same way of working with it. So if you have questions, we might respond to it maybe today on the 15th, or if not, then in a week's time, which is 15 plus 7, 22, on the 22nd. Okay, so that's the first thing I wanted to say. Second thing is that all the other, I have spoken about a number of strategies to be used in for reading in early years. In the paper with Amy Norman, we suggest one way to facilitate an exploration of the context in which students could engage in order to acquire literacy skills. One of the ways we suggested was to create a series of puzzles. So, for example, children can click on any of these icons, and underneath these icons they might have text or games or videos or some questions that they may need to respond to basically do what I discussed in the video on the use of the Australian curriculum, which is to actually learn a little bit of the needs of the community where you would like them to participate in a literacy experience. So, so this is up to you what you will put underneath, but I'll just show you some ideas that I have here. One of the things you might think about is a visible connecting thread between the series of icons you might put, for example, on the smart board, and when the kids click on them, it will take them or maybe, you could have them on a web page, so when they click on any of them, it takes them to these puzzles or different tasks through which they learn about the community. So this one, it may not be very apparent to you, and I give it to you that I'm not actually very good at it, but this one, in my view, the common thread here, for which I tried really hard, is friends. Now, like two pieces of feet here, that actually I think means friends or something like this. This is friends, and this is in indigenous people usually sign the concept of meeting as a circle. So what would the video be? What would the whole project or unit of work be about in this sort of theme? Maybe I don't know, inviting students to produce a class book whereby they maybe talk about themselves, or maybe actually group students, maybe in pairs of 2 or 3 or 4, and so in friends and maybe each of them could create a story about about the relevance of friends in their lives, and they could put it on their class website as one of the postings that they actually do on a regular basis for their school. I think having a website school is extremely important. You may not make it visible necessarily for the entire world, but you could make it visible for the people who actually will have the link, and for their sister schools, for children from different classes to actually explore what's happening, what's going on in the school. I think these ideas are very good, and children and having a website, it's a fantastic environment where students can actually post movie reviews, trips reviews, all kinds of reviews of things that happened. They can have their own newspaper, they can have their own movie reviewing team, they can have their little innovation team, they can have all kinds of things, and posting things for it is very good. And here could be one thing about exploring the concept of friends, right? So in order to support children, so through text, through videos, through games, exploring the concept of friends, so that students can actually to inspire children to actually write a story or create something about the relevance of friends. And maybe each of them could do a little bit of a story about their best friend, right? So that would be great. This is something not very well put, but I bet that it was produced by one of my students, because I can't see the great technique I use. But anyway, this should be sort of leveled up a little bit here. Yeah, whatever. This one, they probably wanted to engage children in a topic of animals. So I don't know what the purpose was for this, what texts for what purpose. But you can see that there's a clearly element of animals here. Now, I am a little bit against teachers reading for students, because I think that that's a kind of babysitting. I think that for the purpose of our assignment, I want us to stretch ourselves so we can invent ways in which we can actually support children in trying to work out how to make sense out of the text that they read without you actually reading it for them. So obviously Avatar was one, right? So we all know about the Avatar. That's fine, I explained it in the last week's video. I have also explained the talk typer, whereby they can actually they can actually type here words and hear how they are spoken, and they can also remove letters from the words to start playing with the avatar and make the avatar read things for them. Remember how I don't know where I have the avatar now on my computer. My goodness, I have everything here. We don't want that. We have avatar here. So if a text is, quite long, nobody says they have to read the whole thing at once, but they can type H and they can make the thing read it, right?
H.
So slow, but actually you get better results with slow, because they actually have to type it, and they actually will be learning the relationships between words and signs.
O.
Yeah, between the yeah. So that's it. So that, and the other one I mentioned, which is the talk typer, where they actually, this is the text to speech, they speak, and the computer throws out words, and that's very useful, because then you're
Are you going shopping?
Yeah.
Are you going shopping? Are you going shopping?
See, it's not typing here.
Are you going shopping?
It's not typing. Now it did. I must have done something bad before. Right? So what students can do?
Yes, I am.
What students can do is, I explained it before, how they can actually verify work with a speech to text and text to speech to verify how many letters, how many sounds, how many, they learn about the breaks between the words and so on. And I also explain in these videos or videos somewhere in the module 4 how you can actually create an entire book with children who are illiterate, right? Because they can actually do these text to speech and speech to text and basically bluff that they actually can read. But in fact, what they did, they counted words, they checked whether the words spoken here and written here. So they take the "Are you going shopping?" They copy it, they put it into the avatar, they check that all is well, and then they can type it into their website, right? And that's fine. And then they take the website text that they just dictated to the text to speech. They put it through Google Translate and they get it in German, in French, in Vietnamese, right? Perfect multilingual site. Now there's nothing cheating, there's no cheating about it, nothing stupid about it. What it is starting to actually teach children to work with text in more than one way. And these are new ways, so they might sound like evil ways, right? Because your grandmother didn't use them, or your teacher when they were 5 they didn't use it, but they couldn't because there was no computer back then, right? So there's nothing cheating about it, there's nothing evil about it. There's a play, there's a component of play, and play always involves exploration. And that's what we're doing, right? Piaget says it, everybody says it, neuroscience says it, play and exploration, these are great. So that's some things. Remember that game I showed you last week about Sam playing games? I created it in a PowerPoint, and that was one, and you can now use that concept for using PowerPoint to actually create situations for children where they play with games, and then in order to actually either read or create a text about a particular activity they did, they might actually you might actually create activities in PowerPoint that allow children to actually move from the complex, which is like I played games, to the more simple, which is create a story, I did well, right? So how do you get them from that? So I was showing before where you can actually, I'm not sure whether you recall, but use the use PowerPoint facilities in more than one way, as I did in Sam's games. I did well, where you can actually either take them to online games where they can actually separate all of that, or you actually record I did well, and then you can record each of those words together, and then you can actually offer students possibilities for looking at I did well as separate words or as separate letters or as a whole sentence like this. And you do that by either using what's that program called for recording voice? Audacity. So Audacity. If you don't have it, you probably don't know how to use it. Audacity records file as a big wave, and then you can pull out. Sorry for this. You can pull out particular chunks from that recording and insert them under each of those things. Okay, so you go to the internet, you go to YouTube, you type Audacity tutorial, that's it. Audacity, you see how you get the wave? Audacity, how to use Audacity? Look at that. So you don't need me to actually tell you, right? You can actually check it yourself. And that's quite useful. The reason why I teach you to use internet and to use ICT is because it allows children to actively select what they want to work with and do it till the cows come home, right? And it's really, really good because they can actually play it backwards, forward, however they want. So games like Sam are very good. This is another game I created. I didn't insert it for this year, but I just give you the concept and you can think about it for yourself. So this was actually, I have to mention it every time I talk about this game. The drawings were made by Natasha Hardy long time ago, actually, at CDU. She was a student. I think that was, I don't know, I don't think it was for the literacy unit. I think it was, well, it doesn't really matter, literacy and ESL, I think both. So she created these drawings, right? See? And meet our village. So you can actually create a very interesting video whereby you connect drawings in your PowerPoint, not an interesting video, interesting resource, and the capacity for the video, for the PowerPoint to actually insert voice. Look at this, find us in New South Wales. So what happens now, obviously for little children you do it a little bit differently, but let me show you just the concept. So you click on it, and theoretically it should take you to a game. Well, sometimes those games are no longer present, right? But it should take you to a game, and there are some games, and I think this is an old version of this project. But it takes you to a geography game, and then geography, and then it's an Australian geography game, whereby you can say, it shows different states, and you have to match the state with the writing, and and I wish it was here, and so they have to match, and one of those states is New South Wales, so this is how they find New South Wales. Anyway, to come further here, so you can see that these are the pictures, also by Natasha, of different aspects of a village. So here's the garden, obviously, and there are two houses. Then there is a boy and a girl here, and a dog. Then there is supermarket. Then there are people in the village, children in the village, and some building site in the village. Now, obviously, each of these drawings are fantastic for you now to add to the, look at what I did. It's very simple. Just have to find the slide now. To add a little arrow, right? You put a little arrow, you go to insert, shape, and you've got 5,000 arrows here. You add an arrow. And then underneath an arrow, you put insert hyperlink, right? So where is the link? Edit, I want to edit it. Is there a link underneath it? Edit text. What's here? I think there is no. Okay, so let's do it again. Alright. Oh my goodness. So let us do that. So when I click on the garden, I'm in the garden. I can click either on the house. Let's see what this voice says.
Did you click on play?
Did I click on play? I think I put some wrong file here. But anyway, so there's house here. There's a garden. So if I click on garden, inadvertently this, okay, Adobe Flash. Anyway, there's a game there, right? So it's not playing now, but there's a garden game here. I will attach that video, that lesson to that resource to so you can actually have access to all those links. So anyway, theoretically there was a link there. So let's go back to that. So you can see you can actually attach, you see there is a game underneath each of those arrows. I have put, I inserted links. So we're back into this. We can go to here, to the human beings, and look at this. You can actually see who works here. So it's a great lesson. It's a great resource. And now, if you wanted children to actually, you could do it differently. You could actually, instead of, you can go to games, obviously, or you could take, if children click here, they could go to a page where you can actually slowly introduce them to reading text using capacities of the PowerPoint to record M, Y, S. So, you recorded your voice saying those letters. So, for example, let me copy that and paste. So there could be different ways of recording my sister. And that's also interesting because they see it all on one page. So my sister can be, you can actually record each letter. Doesn't record very nicely in PowerPoint. I give it to you, but maybe you can find a way of actually organizing it, because if you want to record M, and you go to insert audio, remember, it just looks really awful. M, did it get recorded? Oh my goodness. First of all, I need to remove the other hyperlink. I hope there is no there is a hyperlink underneath it. Can you see it? I just can't see it. Edit text. No, not that text. I want to remove link. That's it. So now when we do M, maybe we can do like this. I think that in PowerPoint what you have to do now is to do like that. M, yep. Y, that's what makes it so exciting. Unfortunately, that's how it is. So you do this square for each of the letters, and then that's how you can record it. So you record, you have to click on the sound, on the square, and then you go M, right, and it didn't get recorded. I don't know why. But anyway, theoretically it should get recorded, but I don't know why it didn't get recorded. It could be because it's an old PowerPoint, and I always had problems with this one. It wasn't recording, so maybe this one doesn't record. M, maybe I'm doing something wrong because it's midnight. Anyway, you will work it out. You're much better than me with those things. So if I click this, audio, record audio, you clearly should be doing this here. Why? Well, it's not going. So try to yourself. But you see what I'm saying? So the concept is to record every letter for my sister, then record my, and you can do it underneath MY, right? And then sister you could actually do under the SISTER, right? You can do that. So you allow children to go to this is a very simple game, by the way. I'll put it there on the blackboard for you. It's a very simple game, so they can do the game with all the simple things on it. But you can also take them through readings of this kind by you recording the voice yourself. And then you can actually later on have another icon and actually get them to actually type into speech to text and text to speech, those my sister and my brother and myself, okay, all of that stuff. So that's nice. It allows to break them down things and so on. So apply strategies like this, which is the games and explore my village, because what happens is here they actually are exploring. They're actually doing. Initially, this PowerPoint was organized for students to do games, right? There's a lot of games about teaching children. I don't know what, I can't remember, it was a long time ago. But the principle matters. It was designed to engage children in games, educational games, but in order to give those games a shared purpose, a shared framework, we organized them around the village. So all games, whether they are about people or what children do or whatever, are all actually created. So all the games are about the children who are in the village. So, for example, cooking games. I think it was about teaching English, that particular whole video. So, all games, whether they're about cooking or about people or about the garden, they are all stories about what's happening in the village. So that's a nice concept for you to use. Even that silly thing that I did today, I don't think we can do it anymore because Microsoft has changed. Let's have a look. Alright, you probably can't do it anymore. In the past, you could actually, so you can see that this is just a picture that I put here, right? A photo. Then here, in the past, you could actually watch YouTube videos through PowerPoint, but now they get so worried that something might happen. So they actually removed that facility, which is really nerving for us teachers. But you could click here and you could watch this, the lion and the mouse, right? You could watch it like that. You can no longer watch it. Well, thank you very much for that wonderful Microsoft. Now we can't even see it anymore. So there. Here it's coming through, but not very nicely. And we can't watch it. You see there's a lion here, you should be able to watch it. Ah, can't. No more. You can only see the picture of a lion. Alright, so that's a concept. Other little things I wanted to show you. What else do I have here? Collect these things over the years. Oh, this is very cute. Look at this. So students in the past, that PowerPoint might be somewhere visible or not. Is it? Let's have a look. It's a roaring lion. Alright. So the idea is to show to children that the text goes in English from left to right, right? So let's have a look whether it will work. Let's hope. So you can see the picture, and this is a roaring thing. So if I click on, I don't know what first, say the sound.
One day a lion was resting when a little mouse who lived nearby ran playfully over his back and down over his head to the ground.
Right, that's cute, right? So, so this PowerPoint, once I put it for you on the Blackboard, what will happen is on LearnLine, what will happen, you'll be able to actually copy this particular slide into your own PowerPoint, and then it will carry this particular animation into your PowerPoint. It's a typewriter animation, but I'm not sure whether every PowerPoint has it. Lots of PowerPoint don't have it. So the PowerPoint with the child's voice was recorded by as one of the resources over the years that my students created. So that was my students' children. They recorded the Lion and the Mouse story, and I took a file from it and basically thought, I mean, you can slow down. That animation can be slower, so you can make it much slower. So how to do it slower? With animation, go to animation, and then you go to animation pane, and then you can somewhere and click somewhere and effect options, timing. You can make it really slow, but I don't know where it is. This one doesn't allow me to make it very slow, but you can make it slow somehow. So I just don't have the time to check it. But you can check the animation pane and make it slow, because I have done it myself in the past. But it's very cute. You've got the sound, and then you can click, and then click on the sound.
One day alone, was resting when a little mouse who lived nearby ran playfully over his back and down over his head to the ground.
It's cute, isn't it? So you can. This is how you can do the chorus reading. If there's a time. This is something that I created way before I created the reading for emotions, because way before I created reading for emotions, I realized that fables usually follow, like setting the focus of the story, and then there's always a dialogue, and then there's always dialogue, and it's a nice expectation when children have what should follow, right? So setting the focus, and then some sort of issue arises, and then it's the dialogue. Now, it's very funny because I checked many linguistic structures that people say the text consists of, like a narrative story or something, and I've checked Akara, what Akara has as examples of assessing a student's narrative, and none of them has a dialogue, and yet each text has a dialogue or should have a dialogue. As you look maybe through the recording number 2 that I created today, and I have in the PowerPoint, I have little Thea who stole the Wikipedia text, and she was just gonna present it as it was because it didn't really matter. But when we actually used my generic structure of how to create text, and came the time to actually do a dialogue stage, it actually turned out that she actually has done some research and had some texts which were actually useful for that stage. But she wouldn't have put them in because she didn't know where and what to do with them. But once I said, well, this is a dialogue stage, who's talking to whom? Is there any reporting of it somewhere or whatever? She said, yeah, there was a eyewitness. Wow. So beginning of this whole reading for emotion model was started quite early on, and this is what I did in the past, showing that every fable had a stage of, a wolf had been feasting too greedily and the bone had stuck crosswise in his throat. He could get it neither up nor down, and of course he could not eat a thing. Naturally, that was an awful state of affairs for a greedy wolf. So away he hurried to the crane. He was sure that she, with her long neck and the bill, would easily be able to reach the bone and pull it out. And it's a dialogue, right? Every time. Wonderful. So that, and then it's again from the left, teaching children that the text is from the left. There are nice, this is the calligraphy bit I was talking about in my other video. You see how you put the sheet over the letters and you do the calligraphy. Very good for your health. Especially if you have little ancient Chinese music playing at the background, right? And children are learning different characters, and they're learning to not just write English letters, but just write systematically, right? Systematically, they learn the elegance of writing, and they also learn to control their motor skills. He is spreader.com app PHP. Right, so this is again for you.
Okay, so you see what's the goal? The goal is to I know you would love to go to the ball, and so you shall. How can I dressed in rags?
Okay, so that's good for chorus reading. Nobody understands what they are actually reading, but at least they are reading. So that's all of these are just great exercises together. So separately, together in groups, right? Just vary it. You don't have to have 27 people yelling at the same time. You can have 3 people yelling at the same time, or 1 person in the group yelling. So anyway, they're all great. But this one you can actually adjust speed. And so you insert the text, whatever you want students to actually read, and you adjust the speed. So there you go. So that's one. So clearly one day I felt multicultural and I created those icons about different activities, and maybe you can have a story, a Chinese story about a little boy or something. So basically the idea is here the theme was us in the global world, and children could actually produce by actually reading a story, a Chinese story or a Korean story, or about drumming or about something else. They engage them in a unit of work whereby they explore others, and maybe with a view to writing something about themselves, or producing maybe a video about themselves. But first they have to actually engage through in activities of different kind. And I'll show you a few examples I had here. I don't know where it's so I've got lots of things here, but I'm not sure. So one of them was basically showing to children things that especially Korean people do, but not only. They look amazing when you actually watch it live. It's very nice to actually show to people the world and their own stories, not just always reading our own stories about the fish in the bowl. We will read Fish in the Bowl if it makes sense for portraying our own culture and our own stories to other people. So we read Fish in the Bowl, we create the emotional story structure, and then we create our own story according to those emotions as well, in order to share with children from somewhere else our own talents. So that's one activity, was the, I don't know, some silly activities I found somewhere. I'm working with maps. It's always good for children to read maps. Now I know that we're in Australia quite obsessed about teaching Australian alphabet, but it's an excellent game on katakana. And again, as I said before, it's very good for children to learn also other symbols than just English. It actually helps them. Unfortunately, I have to say it helps them with English, which is true. But it exercises their intelligence, helps them with English, and helps them to learn English faster. These are particular games. You can actually use it yourself. I don't know for what purpose, but you can see how in katakana the structure of the letters actually has implications to what they will actually mean. So this is a boy or a person. I don't know, what's that? Rice fields, fence. This is rain, this is gate, this is fish, this is sun, right? Any of that. So these are very nice games to use. You can actually apply it to English. Alright, so that's a banana. I don't know what it, B for banana, A for apple. This is, so cat. You can see it has stretched cat. Very funny. So overall, the aim is, so here we have some list just to finish off. So engage children in activities that help them meet their community and inspire them to generate texts for the community. So while I do accept that sometimes we just read one text, but I think if you for the rest of students' life read text with no real purpose inherent in that activity of reading, then people get bored. So I think that icons like this, exploration of things underneath it, exploration of the community, in order to inspire children to show to children that there is a need and inspire them to address the need, like we spoke in the previous PowerPoint for today. These are great things to integrate children to do this belonging and becoming, because belonging and becoming, as we spoke during our assignment 1 preparations, are connected. You belong. You belong through by becoming, because you become inside of a social context to which you actually then gradually belong, and you expand it by expanding the context of your participation. So your being, your reasons for living in the community expand as you grow, as you actually grow your engagement. Not necessarily as you grow older, because there's a lot of people who grow older and they have no reason to live, right? Something went wrong in terms of being, that being got not expanded. So engage. So that provides the context and context for your reading activities. As children actually engage in their exploration of the community through activities that you put underneath those icons, children read and explore and get inspired. Identify and design tools that help children read for themselves, right? So I'm stressing here the need for enabling children to actually read for themselves in groups and alone. Remove the teacher. One thing I didn't add to it, which I added somewhere else, if anyone has to model, then use the original and what I mean by that is, I've spoken about it last week, which is if it's a video, it could be an actor, it could be a child reading and being recorded on YouTube, right? So it has to be a person who had a purpose to read. As a teacher, you can't model every text because you're not an actor, right? So you might as well just go and search for the right videos that model the right way of actually, not the right way, but an interesting way, or a way that actually corresponds with the purpose of the particular text. So the idea that you can model for everyone is a nonsense, because if a teacher always models, then children have limited access to other people that actually could present the text in different contexts, and they will do it differently, right? So we need to actually expose children to different ways of text presentation, not just always the same person. So children identify and design tools that help children to read for themselves in groups and alone. Regarding modeling, right, diversify the purposes and therefore the actor. Include visuals with kids reading left to right, text to speech, speech to text. Include games with different rhymes, chants, alliteration, all these phonemic activities. They find when children do it inside of a larger activity that has a purpose. Because all kinds of connections are then actually enhanced rather than just doing phonemics for their own sake. include reading for emotion strategies discussed in the previous PowerPoint for this week to reveal patterns in text and their purpose. So just look up. And design tools to enhance this pattern detection, as Jo Humphrey has done, right, with her science versus and newspaper articles, right? So there's a room for innovation and for resources. One thing I did also is I will include for you. You can actually create PowerPoints with reading for with PowerPoints and with texts of stories, whether you need it or not. Yeah, I think, well, I don't know, maybe just do it for yourself first, okay, for yourselves first and check, because when children compare and contrast, you really want to get it right with them, so to give them some contrasting text. So you might as well have a few stories analyzed by yourself, a few children's stories, a few texts analyzed in terms of emotions and patterns, and you might create resources out of this, or just basically analyze for yourself. So when you're actually in the classroom, you can draw on those analyzed texts and say, oh, this is how the setting of the story here was to make the reader laugh, or make the reader upset, or make the reader curious. And look at here, what did they do here? What tools did they use here? And now you can actually integrate those tools that you may actually enhance for pattern detection. Anyway, check the previous video, everything is in there. So that kind of summarizes summarizes a few reading strategies that you can actually integrate in early years. Any discussion, I'm looking forward to it either today or next week. Thank you so much.